Listen-only mode.
Good evening and welcome to this session of just 20 minutes. Today's subject is how to get ideas whenever you want. As it happens, today is also the first session in 2013 and therefore a very special welcome for all of you. Welcome to all of you. The subject of how to get ideas whenever you want is of great interest to a lot of people because of a variety of reasons we also get what is called as a mental block. So let me start with something that happened to me early last year. My sister had to undergo an operation sometime in March, and her son had got a medical insurance for her, and therefore it was a kind of a cashless admission for surgery, which was done. We only paid a token advance at that time. Even that was not supposed to be necessary, I believe. And then midway through the post-operation stage, there was some paperwork to be done and submissions to be made to the third party insurance agency, the TPA. And I was beginning to encounter some problems, and the TPA was sending back papers which were legitimate, and so on and so forth. And I was quite stuck in terms of how to resolve this issue because I believed that the claims were legitimate and the TPAs were sending it back. So I didn't know what to do. One day I had come home for lunch and I was going back to the hospital. Sitting in the car, I was just sort of going through my contact list in my mobile, and and it was an idle thing. I mean, I wasn't really looking for anything. I don't remember looking for anything special. As I was actually browsing through the list of names, one particular name popped up, and a gentleman called Sudesh Shetty. Sudesh and I had worked on a project together several years ago. He comes from the insurance industry and he was working in a TPA. And then immediately I called Sudesh and said, listen, I need your help. And this is where I'm stuck. So, what do you advise me to do? And Sudesh gave me a couple of simple steps to follow. And we followed that and all that. And finally, the outcome was a very happy one. And the insurance company paid almost 95% of the entire expenses and so on and so forth. So, there was a happy ending. But the happy ending is not the part of my story. The story is about how, by chance, I thought of Sudesh Shetty. Two things happened in my mind. One was the problem was sort of nestled in my mind, and I was constantly looking for ideas and solutions. And then when I saw Sudesh's name, for a minute, I could make some connection and I took some action on this. So, this is the name of the game. The name of the game is to stay tuned. If you are working on a situation or a problem, let that be at the back of your mind and stay tuned for anything that can come by. It can come in the form of an idea, or it can come in the form of one suggestion which should be one step removed from the idea, like what happened to me. But the name of the game is to stay tuned because of two things. One, there are ideas all around us, they're floating. If you're tuned, you can receive them. Second is clues for getting the idea are also floating around, and that can also help us. So, this is the first thing that we must understand on how to get ideas whenever we want is to stay tuned. The second thing to do is that we must be slightly clear about what is it that we want ideas for. What do you want ideas for? If it is not put together in a simple form, then it's very difficult to get ideas. It is possible that we are working on a very complex problem. A complex problem is generally a combination of several such small problems. So, if you actually break it down into smaller parts and you work on one at a time, very often you will be able to crack the big problem. The trick there is to look at breaking it up into smaller parts and look at the toughest one first and start thinking about that. So it can very often work. Now, when you decide what you want ideas for, it might be a useful thing for us to write down the idea or think about the idea in the following question, saying, how do I do ABC? Or, like, for instance, I have, how do I retain our highly talented people? It should be as simple as that. It could be part of a very big situation in the organization in terms of competitive nature of the organization and the brand, the organization's image amongst prospective employees and so on. A variety of issues might be there, but one issue, if it is there isolated as how do I retain our highly talented people, then we can focus on it and get some ideas on that and then start building the jigsaw puzzle. Okay. So I'm going to take you through how to get ideas on this particular issue as an example so that we move together on that basis. The first thing that we must do is to be ambitious. We must aim for a large number of ideas. Let's not stop with a few. I know why we will stop with a few and we'll deal with that, but I think this is also part of guidelines that people have when we are looking for ideas. Go for large number of ideas, and from that will emerge some highly good quality ideas. Okay. The second important thing is do not allow any censorship, which means don't evaluate your ideas as you're generating them. Because if you're evaluating ideas as you're generating them, it is like walking with your legs tied. There is no way in which you can make progress. So keep the evaluation away for the time being. We can always deal with that later. So don't do any censorship, don't do evaluation, be nice to yourself, and then just move forward. And you can see the kind of sense of liberation that you feel and the volume of ideas coming up. And as the numbers grow, you'll feel even more enthused to generate more ideas. The other thing to do is to keep something handy to capture ideas as they pop up. One of the things that happen is that as fast as they come, they tend to evaporate. So I generally carry a small notebook, and these days I keep capturing it on my the cell phone itself. So there are ways in which you can capture ideas. So you figure out what is most convenient for you. I know people who carry small, uh, you know, library cards kind of stuff. There are slips of paper. There are people who keep blank sheets of paper inside the wallet, which is the same size as a currency note, which is a very smart thing to do. So I think people find their own ways, but the most important thing is to have something on which you can capture ideas. This is a very important thing. Okay. The other thing to do is that if you have a cell phone, you want to just record your idea and not write it. Even that is fine. I think it's a great idea to just record the idea and mail that recording to yourself, and you can use it later, right? So the thing to do is to first capture the first set of ideas that come to your mind. The thing that is important here is that uh, because we've been in business, because we've dealt with growing organizations and therefore people leaving us, etc., we would already have some set of ideas available. All ideas need not be new in the start of this entire work. So first thing is to capture existing set of ideas. So I capture my set of ideas on how to retain our talented people. So the first set of ideas that occur to me are: one is to pay them better. Second is to tell them that we value them. Very often we don't tell them often enough. Send them to overseas training programs because it means a lot of people, even today. Spend time with them. Nobody spends time with them today. I mean, this is a major thing that I see in organizations. Senior managers don't have time to spend with second level people. Get to know them socially. Make them feel special. Study competition and what they do differently. Keep abreast of market trends. Give them odd of turn promotions. Get them to sign a bond. Now, these are the things that occurred to me first. Okay. And they're not bad ideas. Some of them are doable also. So I am saying, let me capture this. Now, there is a reason why I do this. It's somewhat like, if you have an overhead tank at home and you want to fill it with fresh water, what is it that we do? We drain out the uh, water in the water tank, empty it completely, and then fill it with fresh water, right? Otherwise, the old water will mix with the stale water will mix with the fresh water. Similarly, if we don't capture our existing ideas and feel safe that they are kept somewhere carefully, our existing ideas will often go and mix with the new ideas and vitiate them and actually put a stop to our thinking differently. So this is a very good practice to capture all your existing ideas first, pay respect to them and hold them carefully, and then start moving on to new ideas. Now, my situation is that I'm feeling stuck. I don't know what to do now. So I'm thinking, saying, what to do. So then I said, maybe I should ask for some help. I'm sort of stuck, I'm caught. Maybe I should ask for some help. Now, how do I ask for help? I am talking to an HR friend who's handled several things. He and I were classmates. Now he's become an HR specialist. I branched out into advertising and so on. So I call this guy and say, hey, what do we do? Uh, Actually, he is also my colleague now. Okay. So we are colleagues and I'm talking to this guy. So he says, why don't you understand what makes them tick? Don't look at them as employees, look at everyone as an individual. Now, that's a very good point because we tend to look at everybody en masse as employees, but every individual is different and their motivations are different and so on. Then he's also saying treat them as a judge, make a case as to why they should not leave. We don't make a strong enough case. Okay. So, and strong enough case that appeals to them. We only make a strong enough case from our perspective. Then speaks to the spouse he's saying. It's an interesting idea. So speak to the spouse and understand what about work bugs this fellow, bugs this employee. So these are some of the additional ideas I got by talking to my HR friend. These are not ideas that occurred to me. So I have another four additional ideas in addition to about the 10 ideas that I had there. So I'm saying, okay, there is some momentum. I'm sort of beginning to cruise now. So maybe I can try something else. So I remember KBC, phone a friend, remember? So I said, let's phone a friend. It's about calling someone who is an ideas person or an expert. He's got nothing to do with attrition, people, nothing, etc. So I decided to call a professor of physics from the university and talk to him about this. So these are some of the things he suggested. Called a university physics professor. He said, first, design for graduation. Okay, what he means by design for graduation is that you have a fixed period where your new employee will stay with you. After that, he must move from his current position, right? Like a graduate will move from being a graduate to getting into a master's course or whatever it is. So some change must happen in 4 years or 3 years or whatever it is. Design for graduation. That's his thought. The second thing he says is don't let anyone overstay. Think like a university. No university wants their fellows to hang around for more than 4 years. If he doesn't graduate, he's out. If he graduates, even then he is out. Okay, therefore he says, don't let anybody overstay. It is designed for holding on to people for only a certain fixed period of time. Then he says, get rid of deadwood fast. What he means by this is that highly talented people get very frustrated when the management does not get rid of mediocre people. It actually makes them think that their standards come down in the process and therefore it is sending out the wrong messages. So he says getting rid of deadwood fast will actually motivate these highly talented people, okay, and pamper the best ones, as that's the flip side of the coin. He also says offer them fast track growth early. Now, how fast is determined by the employee, not so much by the organization. I mean, if I were to go by what went on in my life, I got some promotion almost every 6 to 7 years. But if I say that therefore 5 years is better than 6 years, today's employee may not accept that. So we need to understand how they define fast. Here is another thing he said, forget loyalty. He says, don't spend energy trying to make the employee loyal to your organization. Instead of that, create a loyal alumni instead, right? So he says, make sure exit is pleasant so that he would want to come back. There are two interesting things he said. A loyal employee will come back. Okay, he'll go outside, find out the rest of the world is not as good as it is here, and therefore he'll come back. The second thing he says is, even though he has left us, if he is loyal to us and we are nice to him, he might be able to send very good people to us. So that also takes care of some of our problems. Then he gives us the example saying, remember in hotels, long staying guests are few. They value frequent customers. So in the context of that, he says, welcome the prodigal son, right? So don't frown on guys who left and come back. I think they are wiser when they come back. So therefore, it might be a damn good idea to create a program of attracting alumni to come back. That might be a very good thing. And it is apparently shown in research, guys who come back, most of them, at least about 70% of them, stay longer when they come back. Okay, a few of them will of course flit in and out. That's a different issue. So this is an interesting thing. So encourage people to leave if they want to fairly early, but keep good relationship with them and welcome them back when they are ready to come back, so they'll stay longer. So there is a short gap in between. That's a nice interesting way to look at that. So here I am, another 9 ideas, 10 plus 3 plus 9. So this is not bad. The other thing to do is to face crazy questions. Okay. One of the questions that comes to me often is, what ideas will be rejected by the boss? This is a very interesting question. When I was in advertising, for instance, creative people used to come and show me work. And then I used to say, so what else have you got? And then they will say, no, but I rejected it myself. So I'll say, show me that. Okay, so we'll go to his waste paper basket, pick out the material that he has written and thrown away. And we found some of the best headlines there and the best copy text which is written there and so on and so forth. So very often, things rejected by people could have some powerful stuff, and we may not have seen the value in it. Therefore, this question of what ideas will be rejected by the boss could be an interesting thing. So let's see what I get out of that. What ideas will be rejected? Invite talented people to board meetings as invitees. I don't know how many bosses will like that, but it's an interesting thought. The signal, the message to the talented people is very, very big and very motivating. Get a talented person to present to management his recommendations on policies that must be changed to manage the growth in the future. Okay. Send talented people on a trend spotting holiday. Okay. Send them on a holiday, but give them a very focused subject, saying what are the trends in the context of this, right? What are the trends in the context of holding on to people? What are the trends in terms of letting people have more responsibility? What are the trends in terms of helping people grow? Whatever it is, right? Give them very specific stuff. So when they come back, there is a very useful material that's available for us. Have a if I was boss event and get talented people to present what they would do if they were in the boss's seat and why. Now this is something people discuss in the canteen, saying if only I was a boss, I would do this. Now here you actually give them an official forum to come and talk about it. Okay. So not many people will take up this opportunity, but the two or three of them who take the opportunity could actually set a trend. It can open up a completely new way of looking at this for the organization. So these are ideas that might be rejected by the boss, but there is something interesting that I come through. There's another 4 ideas. So we had 10 plus 3, 13 plus 9, 22, 22 plus 4, 26 ideas now. Not bad. Read that plaque. Okay, it says, it's true you can't live here by chance. You have to do and be, not simply watch or even describe. This is a city of action, the world headquarters of the verb. So one of the things that can work for us is pick up a random active verb from the dictionary and see what that suggests for us. You know, in one of the earlier sessions, we defined an idea as a prescription for action, and every idea statement must have an active verb and a noun. So an active verb could actually give us some very interesting things, right? Very interesting idea. So I picked up the dictionary and I picked up an active verb which says manipulate. Okay, so what I was thinking, say, how does manipulate work? What can it do for us? So here is one thought I got. Okay, this is probably just one idea. Now prepare a suspect list of talented people who may be wanting to leave. In most organizations, if we have our finger on the pulse, we would know. Okay, senior management may not know exactly, but the HR guys know, the junior HR guys know, and this is not an impossible thing to do. We can prepare a list. Okay. Now this is the manipulation part which comes up now. Make them job offers through a bogus headhunter company. You set it up, but it will not be connected to us in any way. Ascertain why they want to leave us and what is bugging them. Okay. Now armed with this information or using the information, do things to set it right. Okay. And once their worries and barriers are taken care of, the necessity for them to look outside can be minimized. So this is, I mean, this idea came because of the word manipulate. And I said, how can manipulate work in this situation? I got an idea. So here, the interesting thing about this technique is that you can use any verb. And the best part is there are millions of verbs in the dictionary. One verb doesn't work, just dump it. Use some other verb. But I find that this technique works extremely well for a lot of people, and many people have in my workshops have said that this is one of the best techniques they have tried and it works for them. So using an active verb to generate an idea is a very useful thing. Now you need not use the verb exactly in the sentence. It can suggest something else and that can actually form the basis of your idea. Even that is acceptable. But the best part is it will help you generate more ideas. I've just put one idea here. There could be more number of ideas using manipulate itself. Okay. Sometimes what happens is it's very useful for us to step aside, move away from the problem, and then look at the rest of the world. And because we are staying tuned, some idea might occur to us. There is an organization in the US called Synectics. What they really do is they combine two things which are not necessarily which is not possible to combine them together, and uh, based on that they will actually think of an idea. So if you see the Kathakali picture here, what has this got to do with retaining talented people? Okay, the Kathakali guy is a talented guy, obviously, but even the expression here, does it tell me anything? I'm not sure. But I am going by this question here saying, what does this picture trigger in your mind and what ideas can you get? Now, I captured this here. Now, my earliest memory of watching a Kathakali performance is about 50 years old when I was a kid. Okay. I was so scared by the sound of the drums that I closed my eyes out of fear. As a result, I could not see the action. This is what I remember about the Kathakali thing. And my father used to make fun of me about what happened during the Kathakali performance and how I closed my eyes and so on and so forth. The ideas that triggered for me, that this thing triggered for me, is we are so scared of losing talented people that we tend to close our eyes to the real issue. What is the real issue? Customer service actually is affected, right? Because of losing the right, very good people. So there is a break or a gap in customer service. So the real issue is how do we maintain the high quality of customer service in spite of losing people? Is this not the real issue? So this is actually triggered off not only an idea but also an interesting issue that we can grapple with as an organization. On one hand, we will worry about retaining talent. On the other hand, side by side, we could actually start developing ways and means of delivering high quality customer service in spite of losing talented people. So this is the way in which that card helped me, or that picture helped me. At the end of the day, what we're really saying is that today, what I suggested or shared with you, you'll get familiar with ways of generating ideas. With a little bit of practice, you can become proficient. If you really want mastery, you have to really work at it for years. But when you want ideas whenever you want, when you would like to have ideas whenever you want, it needs constant practice. I have a few suggestions on how you can get constant practice. One is every day work on some problem, right? Don't worry whether it is a small problem or a big problem, but let your mind work on something. All you need is just 20 minutes, like this 20 minutes. Try it out. And you don't have to share the ideas if you don't wish to, but occasionally it can work. The other is uh, offer your time and services to your colleagues and friends, saying, hey, if you're working on a tricky situation, just sound me out, use me as a sounding board. I would like to contribute some ideas. So you get practice and you also build relationships. The whole name of the game is to keep trying to generate ideas. The number of techniques that I shared with you here are very few. There are a large number of techniques that are available, but everybody may not want to go through all of them. But keep your eyes and ears open to different ways in which people solve different problems. Okay, if you go to my website, which is www.ideasrs.com, right on the landing page on the right hand side, there is a free ebook that is offered to you on how to get ideas. This is based on interviews with 43 people to find out what they do to get ideas. So one of the things that you can do is straight away go download that ebook, beg, borrow, and steal their ideas on how they get ideas and get more ideas for yourself. Okay. Thank you very much for being with me this evening. I do hope this was useful for you and you can put these to practice at your workplace, at home, and any other place where you're holding an important position, and so on and so forth. Thanks once again, on all the best for the new year. May your new year be happier than the year before. May you solve more problems, make other people around you happier. Goodbye.